Welcome to Roughing It with Ruth, the channel where everything is a bit rough around the edges. This is the NatureHike VIK one-person tent, which is marketed as an ultralight 4-season tent for one person. I purchased this tent with my own money from NatureHike Africa, and I'll put a link in the video description to that product on their website if you're interested in looking at buying it for yourself. The tent itself is made out of 20 denier nylon, which is coated with a waterproof coating. The seams on the inside are taped, and it is a single wall tent. So that means that although there is a mesh door here where you enter, the tent itself is essentially just one skin. It's not a rain fly and a tent inner. In some ways, this is really great because it keeps the weight down, but you should be aware that all single wall tents do tend to struggle a little bit with condensation, and this tent is no exception. It can have a little bit of condensation on the inside, particularly if you're in humid conditions like in a rainstorm or just in a very humid climate. So if you are doing the majority of your hiking in a humid climate, then I would say this is perhaps not exactly the tent for you. On the inside of the tent, it's pretty minimalist. You have one storage pocket and one little loop right in the center of the tent where you can hang a lantern or a headlamp off. The poles that come with this tent are made of aluminium with clips attaching them to the tent body. On the pole itself, there are also 3 guy out points. There are little pieces of metal in between the pole sections that the guy lines are attached to. If you are going to be hiking in true 4-season conditions with snow, then I would get the version of this tent that also has a snow skirt. The version that I have does not have a snow skirt. I have had this tent in really badly windy conditions, and it's been completely fine. I really like the fact that it's quite lightweight as well. It weighs between 1.1 and 1.2 kilograms depending on whether I take the included footprint with me or not. I've owned this tent for nearly a year now, and I've taken it on multiple backpacking trips as well as lent it to other people on various backpacking trips. And I have to say, I'm really impressed with this tent. It has stood up to some really serious rain, some extremely heavy winds. It's been on the top of the Drakensberg escarpment. It's been near water. It's been pitched inside of a cave in the Drakensberg. There are some aspects of this tent that when I bought it, I was not completely impressed with. But the thing that actually concerned me the most was the design of the vents at the top of the tent. There are 2 vents opposite each other, and they're really on the top of the tent, pretty much at the highest point. And I was pretty certain that they would end up leaking just because of where they are on the tent. And if you are in a really windy, rainy condition, I think it is possible for water to blow in there, but that has never happened to me. The tent also comes with a ground sheet, which is really nice. The ground sheet is slightly the wrong size. So when I pitch the tent, I always have to go around and just tuck the ground sheet in a little bit underneath it. The inside dimensions of this tent I find completely adequate for one person. As you can see, I can sit up pretty comfortably, and I have also lent this to Ralph, who is a lot taller than me, and he's been completely happy sleeping and sitting up in the tent. You only really get one vestibule with this tent, a pretty small little vestibule right at the door. There is a vestibule on the opposite side of the tent, but it is so difficult to get to that I'm not really sure why they even put a tiny little zip on the inside of the tent. The zip is so small that you can't really pass any bulky gear items through it. One of my main gripes is the way that the outer fly sheet door is tucked away when it's open. It's got this little plastic hook that hooks onto the edge of the tent to keep it from flapping around when you open it. If you have the door open when you're sitting inside the tent, for instance, you're sitting inside the tent and you're busy cooking just outside in the open vestibule, and then you want to close the tent, perhaps it starts raining or you want to go to bed, you actually have to get out of the tent to release that little hook in order to close the fly sheet door. And I have in desperation before tried sticking my hand underneath the edge of the tent and unhooking that little hook from the inside of the tent, and I do wish that they had just gone with a traditional toggle and loop system to keep that door rolled up and out of the way when it was open. One other thing that I will mention, I don't mind it at all, but it is something to keep in mind, is that the tent is quite bright. Because it's this white color, it lets light in very well, which means that if you're wanting to sleep in or something, you probably won't be able to, because as soon as the sun comes up, it's coming directly into your tent. When I bought the Vic tent, I paid 2,969 Rand for it. It's currently retailing for 3,299 Rand on the NatureHike Africa website. It is a bit more on the pricey side, but I think it's justified for this tent. It is a very solid technical tent to go and take hiking. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then you can click on my channel name to see videos that I've made in the past, or you can subscribe to my channel to see videos that I'm going to make in the future.